Okay.
The NCAA placed Michigan State football on 3 years of probation for violations that occurred during Mel Tucker's tenure as coach. They occurred due to participation of 3 ineligible players. They're vacating all 14 wins from the past 3 seasons, including all 5 last year during Jonathan Smith's first year in charge.
Well, okay.
Amongst other things, they're facing.
There's 3 players, and the 3 players were on the team last year.
Mm-hmm.
Smith and his staff have nothing to do with it. The general manager and Tucker, of course, have everything to do with it. But if I'm a Michigan State fan, I'm furious about this for this reason. Okay? Yes, the penalty for using 3 ineligible players fits. I'm not saying it doesn't. But the team down the street.
Everyone's been saying they got the wrong Michigan.
Okay? Went out and did what they did and vacated nothing. And as I pointed out once, I'll point it out one more time. Okay, what Michigan State did was wrong. What Mel Tucker did was wrong. What the GM did was wrong. I got it. Using 3 ineligible players, I got it across the board. So I'm not. All right. But you look down the street. 1, what's Michigan's MO? Run the football. Okay. One of the keys to running the football, where you can do it all day long, is to play with the lead.
And how do you play with the lead, Steve Jones?
Like getting to the lead in the first quarter. And that's where the sign stealing part comes in. It does not come in quarters 2, 3, and 4, because by the time you get to quarters 2, 3, and 4, a lot of teams have already started to figure out, because they have people looking. You're allowed to.
Yeah.
That part's
during
legal.
a game, you're allowed to try and figure things out. Yeah.
So in quarters 2, 3, and 4, you're starting to get a handle on what they're doing down there. In quarter 1, where nobody's sure, and they already have them, because they were filming on each side of the stadium in other games. Really? But we can't really do much about that. Vacate anything? No, they didn't vacate anything.
How dare we vacate wins from a team? It's crazy.
We already know the games were played. That's always the stupidest part of it. Like I'll never forget when they screwed around with the Penn State thing, and Mark Emmert had to be the big man and come out and do his big deal, right? Okay. I looked up fraud in the dictionary. And I'm not done yet, okay? And they vacated wins. Right? And Ohio State had their games, had some wins vacated.
Was that Jim Tressel?
Jim Tressel. I remember I called up Paul Keels. I said, you remember that game we did a couple of years ago? He says, yeah. I said, that game was a mirage. You can't act like people are stupid. And they make decisions that make people like, don't take away their win. Don't take away their wins. The games were played. I mean, Oklahoma used 2 ineligible players against Penn State in the 1972 Sugar Bowl. Okay? And they won the game 14-0. Okay? Oklahoma, and one of them was the quarterback, Kerry Jackson, who played really well against Penn State that night down in New Orleans, back in old Tulane Stadium. And guess what? Okay, you look at the Penn State media guide, it's a loss. You want to know why it's a loss? Because Penn State didn't win the game. But it's a win Oklahoma had to vacate. Now, my favorite one, this is one I love. Ohio State basketball. It was under Jim O'Brien. And by the way, I thought Jim O'Brien was a terrific guy. I really did. But whatever it was, they did, blah, blah, blah. So they vacated games. So I'm sitting down one day. It's back in the early 2000s. Penn State has not won a game at Value City Arena and have not won at Ohio State since 1999. Or no, since 1990. What, 98, I think it was. I'm like sitting there like going, what the hell are they talking about? This is like 2006 or 7 or whatever. So what are they talking about? I said, Penn State won a game at Value City Arena in 2001, and Tyler Smith hit a jump shot from the wing to put the game away. It's from the right wing, right? So I said to somebody, I said, Penn State's won here. Well, we vacated those games. I said, you vacated your losses? And he looked at me and goes, yeah, we vacated everything. We just thought it was easier. I said, you vacated your losses. I said, your game notes state that Penn State hasn't won here. Excuse me, they did win here. I said, you don't vacate your losses.
Steve, it was a mirage.
It was a mirage. I sit there and go, I swear, there's some days I wake up and I feel like Will Ferrell and Zoolander. I feel like I'm taking stupid pills. Like, what are we doing here? So look, what they did was wrong. At the time, we all thought they were doing something wrong.
Spoiler.
I'm not saying we. Yeah. Okay, we kind of thought something was going on there. And I remember the transfer thing, and and typical the bandwagon jumping. Oh, we got to be more like Michigan State. And I said, no, you don't want to be Michigan State. Well, you got to be more like Mel Tucker. I said, no, you don't want to be like Mel Tucker. I would go to groups. I mean, these are things I've got to answer for when I talk to groups all the time. When something is hot at the moment, you sit there and go, oh, mother of God, why do I got to waste my time talking about this? Right? And you don't want to flat out come out and say they're cheating because I don't know it for a fact, but I know enough people that tell me that
something's fishy.
Something squirrely is going on around there. Okay.
Michigan State is also being, along with all these things, being penalized $30,000 plus 1.5% of the program's budget.
This ends up being about $1 million.
Yeah. They're facing restrictions on official, unofficial visits, recruiting communications, recruiting person days, off-campus recruiting contacts, and evaluations over the probationary period. They apparently negotiated it down with the NCAA to minimize the penalties. So they were going to be, quote-unquote, harsher. The NCAA got their way.
Happens.
That's how it works. Usually they start real high, and then it gets to a point where...
That's how a negotiation works. That's why when I talked as the side talk about the NBA, we're going to triple our money, and I said, well, that's just an opening salvo. Well, they ended up tripling their money. But remember, Notre Dame wanted to get what the Big Ten was going to get, and I said they'll probably get 45 to 50, and they did, right? So in this case, they start out high. You're like down here, and you're like, please. And for Jay Batt, this is the first major thing he had to handle was the negotiation because Jay Batt was not a part of the athletic department at Michigan State when any of this happened. It's not Jonathan Smith's fault. He inherits a team that becomes his team. He's not sitting there looking at the eligibility of the three players. Right? He assumes that well, they're in school, everything's all set, no problem, whatever they play. I mean, all of us would walk in and go, okay, all these players are eligible, right? Yep, we're all good. Good. Well, what? Of course, I'm going to play them.
Yeah. Mel Tucker was handed a 3-year show cause order. Former Michigan State GM Saeed Khalif and former assistant coach Brandon Jordan also got show cause. Khalif was 6 years. Jordan was 5 years.
Thanks for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones. Catch the latest from me on the 7 Mountain Sports YouTube page. Find clips of the show on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook by searching up 7 Mountain Sports.